To some people, these animals are the embodiment of cruel death. To others, they are the finest example of nature's respect for life. Whatever the point of view, there is no question that they are predators. The film you are about to see is, I think, an extraordinary portrait of North America's natural predators. Those animals which, in the business of living, must kill to eat. It is not a sentimental film, but neither is it a cruel one. It explores the relationship between predator and prey with understanding. What you see may surprise you, for in the wild world there is really no underdog, no loser. Everything that happens is designed for one purpose, to preserve life. It is a world which may disappear in our lifetime, yet one we need because it is our heritage too. Perhaps as we come to know these predators better, we will come to a better understanding of the most successful predator of all, man. For a meat eater, the business of living is complicated. There may be plenty to eat, but try to catch it, which is exactly what it means to be a predator. To a bobcat with 2 bob kittens to feed, almost anything qualifies as a meal. Squirrels, rabbits, birds, mice, and fish. It is not often a trout ventures into shallow water, but a bobcat's keen eyesight is not likely to overlook the possibility. Her twin kittens were born in the spring, and in the fall they will leave her. But during the intervening summer, the bobcat does little else but find food for them. She's a good mother, which in the wilderness means she is a vigorous and resourceful hunter. A snowshoe hare ducks as she passes. The hare has blundered into more trouble. Weasels are small, but they are among the most aggressive hunters in nature. They're also curious. A 4-pound snowshoe is not likely to let itself become the prey of a half-pound weasel. All predators have great respect for the hare's powerful hind legs. The weasel's flowing movement is clearly shown here in slow motion. Its streamlined body has evolved during millions of years of chasing moles and rodents into their underground holes. Far above the wooded valleys, the bobcat hunts for pikas, a small creature akin to the rabbit. Among the rock slides, escape is easy, and they feel quite secure. To catch a pika, surprise and speed are essential. The alarm is sounded. In seconds, the pika colony has scurried to safety. Except for one, which strayed too far. The all-clear sounds and the pikas return to their work as if nothing had happened. They are busy with their most important job, that of laying in grass for winter food. The seasons change, but the picus stays sleek and healthy. Snow provides his water supply. In the wild, everybody picks on the deer mouse. From the 1,000-pound grizzly to the half-ounce shrew. But the mouse is not about to lie down and die. He has sharp teeth, and he uses them. The world's supply of deer mice is increasing. The secret of survival is a strong will to live and a phenomenal birth rate. To predators near the timberline region, winter complicates life. Her kittens are on their own now, and the bobcat has only herself to feed, as best she can. To a snowshoe hare, winter is comparatively easy. Its coat turns white, making it almost invisible in the snow. Food isn't a problem for snowshoes. They live on bark, twigs, and pine needles, things no other animal can digest. The hare detects a sound. The bobcat tries to maneuver into striking distance. The hare senses danger and cleans its big snowshoe feet, just in case. It can outrun almost anything in the deep snow. The bobcat moves in. And the chase is on. Bobcat and hare are predator and prey, but they're not enemies. It's a relationship they have shared for millions of years, and both have thrived. And now it is the predator, not the prey, which is in danger. With fewer wild places to hide, the bobcat species is being destroyed by stockmen, bounty hunters, and in recent years, fur trappers. The skins of leopards and jaguars have been prohibited from international trade, so the bobcat must satisfy fashion's demand for spotted fur. A happy ending? Yes, if you are rooting for the snowshoe hare. But it is not the underdog. In the larger battle for existence, it is the bobcat which is in danger. It cannot win that battle without man's tolerance. There is only one animal in the world which can hope to survive a fight with the grizzly bear. Another grizzly. This is not a life or death struggle. Bears do not try to kill one another. But it is not less serious because of that. It is a battle over a female, and it's fought according to ritualized rules which all grizzlies understand. When one gets the upper hand, the other surrenders. The stronger wins the female and perpetuates his superior strength through breeding. With all the killing power that large bears possess, it seems strange to see them here in Summer Meadow eating grass. Over half of a bear's diet is plant food, even though they obviously eat anything, especially salmon. This is the first fishing trip for the cubs, who were born last winter and still have not been weaned. Salmon fishing will be an annual pilgrimage for the rest of their lives. In late summer, the fish start their run upriver to spawn. Bears come from all around to feast on their favorite food. Bear experts believe that it is the salmon diet that makes the Alaskan bears the largest predator in the world. Some weigh 1,500 pounds and stand 9 feet tall on their hind legs. The mother leaves her cubs on shore and wades into the water, the better to see the fish. Brown bear mothers are devoted to their cubs for the first year or two and rarely leave them, even for a few minutes. That explains why they are so eager to get back to her again. These cubs didn't realize it until a minute ago, but they know how to swim. There is constant competition for good fishing spots. It's something worth fighting for. Bears are not social animals and rarely come together except during salmon runs or to mate. Bears are very smart, and there are statistics to prove it. Intelligence tests done on wild animals show the bear to be smarter than wolves, foxes, or coyotes. The mother bear takes over a good fishing spot and defends it against all comers. A female bear is normally docile, but when she thinks her babies are threatened, not even a big male will tangle with her. Cubs are usually born 2 at a time during the winter hibernation, and they stay with their mother through 2 summers. Then they go off on their own to live alone like all bears. Seagulls flock to the falls, even though they are not strong enough to pull the big salmon from the water. They hang around for leftovers. Up in the winter range, wolves often provide food for bears, though not on purpose. This grizzly followed the wolf pack for miles, knowing that sooner or later it will probably catch something. In this case, a deer. The grizzly simply steps up and claims the prize. Wolves fight ferociously, but even a pack of wolves is no match for a grizzly. Deer cannot usually be killed by wolves, even in deep snow. Deer are too fast, and they fight when cornered. Those that are caught are usually weak, either from hunger, disease, or perhaps wounds from a hunter's bullet. The wolves stay well away from a bear's slashing paws, which have been known to kill a buffalo with one blow. Now, the wolf pack moves off to seek easier prey. The grizzly may continue to feed for several days, and then he will return to his den to continue his winter hibernation. From high perches along the river, a score of bald eagles watch for prey with eyes that are 7 times keener than the eyes of man. With uncanny accuracy, they anticipate the movement of fish below, and once in 3 or 4 tries, they make a catch. Eagles are definitely opportunistic, which in this case means hijacking a fellow eagle. It's a game that nobody wins. Here, where man's intrusions are small, bald eagles still conduct their lives as they have throughout vast stretches of geologic time. They still line the lakes and streams in the spring to fish and teach their young. This fledgling finally gives up and settles for scraps dropped on the sandbar. Few creatures are more beautifully adapted to their environment than the eagle. It can cruise the upper atmosphere comfortably on a spread of wings that exceeds 7 feet. Apparently oblivious to the numbing cold, while searching the ground with eyes that are among the best in nature. Although fishing is the way of life for bald eagles, they will take advantage of any source of food: rodents, ducks, snakes, and even carrion from the kills of other predators. They are well equipped to succeed in their natural environment, but they have no defense against the processed world of man. Despite federal laws to protect bald eagles, our national symbol, they have declined in numbers and range. Today, fewer than 1,000 pair remain in the United States. Like the eagles, hawks are also endangered, including the amazing peregrine falcon, the fastest bird in the world. It soars high in the sky, watching its prey, usually a small bird, and then it dives like a thunderbolt. The peregrine has been recorded at speeds above 180 miles an hour. Peregrines were once quite common throughout the continent, but now their numbers are dwindling steadily. The osprey is a sea eagle with a different style of fishing from the bald eagle, which grabs its prey from the surface of the water. The osprey, however, dives deep, catching fish 3 or 4 feet below the surface. When it catches a large fish, the osprey aligns it head first for aerodynamic efficiency. Like all eagles, the osprey suffers genetic damage from agricultural poisons, making it also an endangered species. This may be the most endangered bird in North America. It is the Everglade kite, and certainly it is one of the most specialized. There is only one creature it calls food, the apple snail of the Florida Everglades. Because the Everglades are being diminished through draining, the snails are disappearing, and with them, these beautiful birds. Less than 200 are left to perpetuate the species. Just a few inches beneath the surface of the soil, undetected by man, lies the hunting ground of the wandering shrew. For this tireless hunter, it is a rich source of insects, worms, grubs, and snails. When a fellow shrew enters his territory, he defends it with apparently vicious aggression. But the combat is merely a ritual, as with the fighting grizzlies. No one will get hurt. It will determine whose hunting grounds these are. The contest has standard ploys: the defense posture, the submission stance, and the singing contest, in which they grab each other by the tail and go round and round, chirping like mad. The intruder usually loses the battle and moves on to find a territory of his own. Shrews are distributed everywhere in North America. The short-tailed shrew is unique among the predatory mammals of the world. It kills with a poison. This snake-like specialization was only recently discovered. This mouse does not realize it is in danger. Unless it runs away, there is no possibility of its winning the fight, for the shrew moves with an incredible speed, and one bite will end it. A shrew has a meteoric rate of metabolism. With a heartbeat of 1,000 times a minute, it must consume its own weight in food every 24 hours. The shrew maneuvers and bites. The poison has done its work. There will be plenty of food for the shrew for at least 2 days. But nature has taken care of the mouse too, with a prolific birth rate to perpetuate the species. In the northern regions of the continent, where the moose forage in the wetlands, there lives another kind of shrew, the water shrew. To satisfy its voracious appetite, it is specialized in the nearest source of protein, the fish beneath the water. Shrews must eat constantly. In 3 hours without food, it will starve to death. As it hunts, there's always the danger that it will end up being prey. The water shrew maintains an incredible schedule: 3 hours of hunting, half hour of rest, day in, day out, summer and winter. Water shrews must surface frequently for air, and they hope for an insect or snail to eat while above the water. Although they are virtually blind, shrews have sensitive whiskers which, combined with lightning-like movements, enable them to catch almost anything. He locates a school, but it is too late. He must surface again for air. It has many adaptations for hunting in water: a rudder-like tail, a waterproof coat of fur, and feet that are webbed with stiff hair so they can swim as fast as the minnows they hunt. The shrew becomes desperate as he seeks in vain. Quickly, he locates the school again. The catch is easy. Shrews are among the quickest creatures that live. He heads for the surface where he will feast again. It is, however, only a momentary rest, for he can never cease in his endless quest for food. How big is a shrew? Some reach half an ounce, but most are smaller. But despite their size, they are driven by the same needs as the grizzly and the bobcat, to hunt and kill to live. Sunlight, water, the nourishing earth. These are the basic elements for the renewal of life. And nowhere are the fundamentals more abundant than in the great swamps of America's southern lowlands. Plants, through their incredible chemistry, use the energy of sunlight to change inert matter into living cells, and on them all other life depends. Here it is most evident that out of death and decay come life and growth. It gives the swamp a special mood of mystery, of sanctuary, a peace that comes through order. By nature's accounting, the swamp is a place of measureless wealth. In this atmosphere, plant and animal life have diversified with bewildering complexity. Thousands of species, billions of individual creatures have prospered within a system that has held strong since a time far in advance of the existence of man. It is a system which is comprehensible only in terms of food. The Louisiana crayfish eats both plants and animals, and it is a favorite food for almost every other predator large enough to kill and eat it. As it hunts, it carries under its tail hundreds of young and protects them from attack with its claws. Despite its formidable appearance, though, it is perhaps the swamp's favorite food. Its abundant reproductivity seems to provide enough for all, with enough left over to perpetuate the species. Swamps and marshes are the continent's breeding ground, nursery, and haven. Nearly a third of North America's bird species live or winter here. Over 100 species of fish have their spawning beds in these waters, and all order of creatures, from algae to alligator, from butterfly to bobcat, are represented among its inhabitants. Many species are making their last stand in the swamp. The red wolf, the ivory-billed woodpecker, the manatee, the brown pelican, the great white heron. they make it anywhere, they will make it here. Many of today's swamp residents come in from outside to flee the presence of man. The black bear once roamed extensively throughout the habitat around the swamp, but now seeks its safety, silence, and prodigal food supplies. The red wolf, now almost extinct, would rather exercise his predatory role with respect to the possum, but settles for ripe persimmons. The danger gone, the possum moves on to greater dangers. White-tailed deer and red wolf, old companions in the forests of the Mississippi Basin, both depend on the swamp for refuge. But it is really more than that. It is truly a functioning wilderness where man's hand is just beginning to be felt. It is not a place for man's favorite creatures, but for all creatures, predator as well as prey. Among the most delightful of wilderness predators is the river otter, a playful wanderer which ranges widely among streams in its search for fish and crustaceans. With its webbed feet and flexible body, it can swim and maneuver better than most of the fish it hunts. Otters usually travel in pairs or small groups and are very sociable, although they don't seem to like sharing a meal. While the winner eats, his companion swims off on a fishing trip of his own. He may cover many miles in a day, all of it in the water where he feels secure. An otter's favorite food is fish, which he catches by investigating every nook of the stream bed. Otter fur has great economic value for coats. Today, otters have been reduced to a fraction of their former range, which once took in all the waterways of the continent. They are seldom seen except in remoter wilderness areas or adorning figures of the fashion world. The destruction of the predators takes many forms, some of which merely reflect the ego of man. To some, perhaps, the conquest of a noble foe confers nobility on the conqueror. As the continent is brought under the civilizing influence of man, the wild predators move further away, seeking some cold security in a habitat where man has no need to intrude. And yet, there is no place where man cannot go. There is, of course, no security for any creature on Earth when man declines to let it live in peace. The days of the red wolf are surely numbered. This beautiful canid once roamed from Virginia to Texas, but after 200 years of attack by man, the last individuals of the species now hunt rodents and birds amongst the thickets of East Texas and the bayous of Louisiana. Man's attitude toward the wolf and other large predators is perhaps based on a competitive feeling toward the prey. For much of it, like quail, is the target of our own predations. It is our dual past coming back to haunt us. We hear the howl of the wolf, and the primate in us shivers. We see desirable prey, and the hunter in us rejoices, as if our existence depends on its presence. At some remote time, tens of thousands of years before recorded history, man could not have survived without his skills and tools for hunting. He too had to kill to live. He was not the mightiest predator in terms of size and strength. He was the most intelligent and aggressive. Few predators could compete with him for food. Competition, even more than predation, was the key to man's success. For many people today, there seems to be very little left of the residual feelings of fear for wild animals. And very little respect for the wilderness in which all predatory habits were evolved. The continental forest has fallen, and the land has been leveled to make it safe for soybeans. Waterways are stopped and valleys are drowned, and the wild animals flee deeper into the remaining wilderness sanctuaries. The very contours of the earth changed, and the ancestral land of the prairie chicken is reserved for man's own use. There is no longer room for Atwater's prairie chicken or the kit fox, and both are rare and endangered. We have contrary instincts about the creatures which are native to this land, and when we approve of one, we have been able to bring it back. The pronghorn was almost gone. Now it is being restored to a suitable habitat. The once teeming buffalo is again kicking up his heels. With special refuges in the ban on DDT, the rare brown pelican is making a comeback, as is the desert bighorn. And the whooping crane, America's most popular success story. If public demand for its care continues, the whooping crane has special reason to express its joy. prejudice against predatory animals shows up in what we chose to restore to wilderness areas. Until recently, we favored only the prey species, not the predators. This endangered Florida panther is an exception. Recently, it was released into its native habitat, the Florida Everglades. It is an experiment which attempts to recreate the natural balance in wilderness. The cougar is the largest American cat. Of all predators, it is the most completely specialized for a life of killing and eating meat. A cougar may weigh as much as 200 pounds and has little trouble bringing down deer, but a flying squirrel is not so easy. The cougar is a close relative of the Florida panther. In some parts of the country, they are called mountain lions. Bighorn sheep once roamed the deserts, valleys, and mountains of the West in herds that totaled in the millions. Today, the few thousand that remain sought refuge in the high mountains, in territory where few other animals can follow. Their ability to balance on precipitous ledges, to maintain footholds while leaping along the sides of cliffs, has kept small their losses from natural predators. The bighorns share part of their high-altitude habitat with bands of mountain goats, also refugees from the encroachments of civilization. The defense tactic of both bighorns and mountain goats is the same. They run away. Among these precipitous heights, there is no predator which can keep up with them. Like all cats, the cougar prefers to kill by ambush, and that requires intelligent planning and great stealth. The bighorns still relax. They aren't worried yet. In every herd, there is a dominant ram which acts as lookout against danger. The cougar pushes the herd relentlessly. A yearling, crippled from birth, cannot keep up. It is swiftly done, with an expertise inherited from 30 million years of hunting. A cruel death? Not by the standards of wilderness, where avalanche, starvation, and freezing claim more lives than the claws and teeth of the predator. The cougar does not waste food. It will eat what it needs at the moment and bury the rest for future meals. When a predator kills, it is difficult for us to withhold judgment. Yet it is not a crime. The cougar, like the bighorn, must eat to live, getting his food the only way that nature has taught it. Violent death is not uncommon up here. The bighorn herd is quickly back at its main business, that of finding food and caring for the young. The yearlings learn to walk the rocky ledges with the same surety as their elders, a defense which helps preserve its species. For theirs is a life in which there can be no mistakes. When one of their number is weakened, either by birth or by accident, its survival is unlikely. Had the yearling with defective legs not died and had lived to reproduce, the defect would have weakened future generations. Now that cannot happen. Today, there is no wilderness area in North America which man does not or cannot control. The question is whether or not it will remain wilderness. We cannot preserve that which has evolved over tens and hundreds of millions of years if we take sides in the battles of nature. There are no good guys, no bad guys. They are all necessary, for nothing can be considered true wilderness without the predators.
Ritual provides structure in nature. All animals have rituals. Some are beauty itself, like many courtship dances, which for centuries have impressed and influenced humans. Other animal rituals have more dangerous undertones, such as battles for territory, hierarchy, and the right to mate. There is a symmetry in the animal world that promotes coexistence. Because of this, most animals go to great lengths to avoid serious fights, unless it means survival. When they are necessary, these confrontations can be breathtaking. I'm Marty Stauffer. Join me as we witness a variety of rituals I call spectacular showdowns. Many animals migrate from one environment to another, depending on the availability of food. Along the Chilkat River in Alaska, bald eagles by the thousands fly in to feed on an abundant source of protein. For the eagles, it's a time of renewal, but not without first competing for a place at the banquet table. These autumn confrontations over relatively abundant food pale in comparison to the struggles of winter. Here in Alaska, a wolf pack congregates at a moose kill. The alpha male reasserts his dominance over the pack. But But competition for this scarce winter food supply is about to escalate. Enter the wolverine. It's 1/3 the size of a wolf, but don't let that fool you. The wolverine is the ultimate scavenger, surviving on the fringes of the food chain. This bear cat, unsurpassed for its strength and endurance, is a savage loner and a ferocious fighter. The wolf is no match for the tenacious wolverine. Bloodied and exhausted, the wolf, now alone, goes to find the pack and leaves the prize to the hungry wolverine. Food is not the only reason for showdowns in the animal world. We're now in Pennsylvania. All summer, the white-tailed deer have lived in quiet harmony, the bucks separate from the does. But as the leaves turn their fall colors, the tempo of life quickens for the whitetail. Tensions run high as bucks and does are drawn together. At this time of year, the deer in a given area have formed a loosely knit herd. A buck following a doe in heat often enters the territory of another buck. Tucked under tails and laid back ears give notice that rivalry among these magnificent equals is about to come to blows. Some of the does may scatter. The winner is the buck with enough stamina to follow. This is nature's way of assuring that only the strongest males reproduce. Certain animals, like the prickly porcupine, are specially equipped for showdowns. Porcupines are solitary rodents, though males have been known to share their home ranges and even forage in the same tree. But when breeding season nears in late fall, disputes over dominance are common. A porcupine cannot throw its quills, but on contact, they do dislodge with ease. Quills are not poisonous. In fact, they're covered with fatty acids, which act as topical antibiotics. The porcupine's insurance policy against suffering a serious infection from its own best weapon. Other animals, like skunks, have weapons they don't use when fighting among themselves. Skunks often den together in cold climates to share warmth. Here in Upper Michigan, the coming winter gives a sense of urgency to this fattened male striped skunk. It hurries to renovate an abandoned fox den. Although a dozen skunks may congregate, there will never be more than one adult male. If another male tries to encroach, a bloody battle is sure to ensue. Strangely, skunks are careful not to release spray which could smell up their own fur, and so do not resort to chemical warfare when fighting among themselves. Contests between males can go on for over an hour and sometimes result in death. The loser will need to fashion itself a snug burrow before winter hits. So nature has insulated it with a 2-inch thick layer of body fat, buying it the time it will need to seek another haven. For the winter, there's no time to celebrate. It's bedtime. high altitudes of the Rocky Mountains are a perfect setting for one of the most impressive confrontations in the animal kingdom. In a classic autumn ritual between bighorn sheep, the rams, sporting enormous horns, vie for the right to be king of the mountain, and with it, the right to mate. Usually, the ram with the most impressive headgear dominates his male counterparts by simply displaying his horns. But when rams of equal size encounter each other, all-out combat is not uncommon. Heads slam together at 20 miles per hour. evening, when most animals have settled in for the night, the fox is active, especially when scent marking territory to identify himself to receptive females. It's also his way of challenging rival males. Although some males will mate with more than one female in a season, the vixen of choice is jealously protected from unmated intruders. Encounters between males are sometimes just screaming contests, but more often they are fierce battles and can even be fatal. The battle ends in a standoff, with the resident male the apparent victor. He now chases the vixen and courts her with techniques very similar to those he just used on his rival. The rival slinks away, perhaps to find an unguarded vixen of his own. Of the common reasons for animal showdowns, the right to mate, territorial disputes, and competition for food, hunger ranks high on the list as a source of conflict. This coyote in Yellowstone Park is a cunning carnivore, even when it comes to the clever otter. Capable of outwitting almost any animal, the coyote is not above trying to steal the otter's fish. The contest becomes more heated as a fellow opportunist arrives. But suddenly, the otter has more trouble than it bargained for. Snatching the fish from the otter is only one small victory. To win the battle, he must keep it from the other coyotes. In the end, dominance, not chance, dictates which contender claims the prize. When it comes to disputes over food, perhaps none is so awesome as a showdown between a hungry grizzly and a pack of equally hungry wolves, especially in winter when food is scarce. Some fights over food are family affairs. This badger is digging up a cached ringneck pheasant. It notices another badger approaching its meal. One of the most ferocious sights in nature is badger fighting badger. This is only a minor squabble. A unique physical makeup corresponds perfectly to a fierce fighting spirit. Its skin is tough, yet fits so loosely that if the animal is grabbed from behind, it can literally turn around inside its own skin and bite the attacker. And a bite from a badger is nothing to be taken lightly. The only way to open the jaw of a badger, unwilling to let go, is to break it. On occasion, two are found dead with their jaws locked in a death grip. There's no question. A badger has definitely met its match in fighting another badger. This one quickly forgets about its excavation, reclaims its prize, and heads off to its winter sleeping den, leaving its hungry competitor behind. Some showdowns are as much ritual as combat. I had read about one so rare it had never been captured on film and rarely even seen. I am venturing into this cave in Oklahoma to try to see it for myself. This ritual involves the most dangerous reptile in the United States, the western diamondback rattlesnake, and its mysterious snake dance. I came prepared with a walking stick. It's the only way for me to clear a path through this slithering maze. The snakes are irritable, to be expected after a long winter fast. I've also angered them by moving them out of the way. So if I want to see the natural behavior of undisturbed snakes, I'll have to search deeper into the cave. Although it's risky, my curiosity overcomes my fear, and I continue further into the cave. I hope to see for myself the bizarre behavior displayed during the combat ritual that I've heard so much about. Western diamondbacks attain the largest den concentrations of all rattlesnakes, sometimes 1,000 to a cave. This increases my chances of seeing a snake dance. Unfortunately, it also increases my chance of getting bitten. The shadowed walls seem to be crawling with snakes, but luckily the cave is fractured with holes, which allow sunlight to filter through. Directly ahead of me, I see a male and female engaged in courtship behavior. The jerking motion of the male's head as he slithers over the female's body is a prelude to mating. Suddenly, a second male approaches from the rock above. Finally, a chance to witness one of the strangest rituals found in nature. The courting male rises up to meet the challenger, and the two rivals begin swaying rhythmically. This combat dance is an amazing example of the truth being even stranger than the tall stories about rattlesnakes. It was first believed that the snakes, twisting about and seemingly linked together, were mating. Now it's known that only males perform this symbolic dance. It has also been observed between males of different species and at different times of year, sometimes without a female nearby. What exactly stimulates the males to dance is not clear, but the goal seems obvious: to establish sexual dominance. With almost half of their bodies poised upright, the opponents rock back and forth until one senses an advantage and throws the other off balance. As their excitement builds, the momentum of the dance quickens. Lacking arms and legs, the snakes wrestle by literally throwing their weight around. The wrestling match seems to be a test of coordination as well as of strength. This exhausting dance can go on for several hours, but snakes are very strong for their size. Pound for pound, they have more muscle tissue than any other animal. We humans could learn a valuable lesson from these ancient reptiles, whose contests are settled without any intent to kill their opponent. Not too far from the cave home of the rattler is the southwestern home of another reptile, the desert tortoise. Unlike the rattlesnake, the tortoise looks slow and benign, but looks can sometimes deceive. The truth is, it can be a fierce fighter for territory and mating rights. Its ritual struggle is a battering battle. Here, two males come together during the mating season. The object of this armored wrestling match is not only to defend a territory and win a female, but to render the opponent helpless. The weapon is a horny projection from their lower shells, called a gular shield. Each tries to wedge his underneath the other. Like prehistoric knights in armor, one finally succeeds. The desert hosts many dangers, and the most relentless is the sun itself. Unless the loser can right himself quickly, he is doomed. Not only can the same species be ferocious in battle with one another, cousins can compete just as fiercely. In this rare encounter, the lynx has a slight advantage in size, weight, and reach. But the bobcat has the even more important advantage of a ferocious disposition. The long-legged lynx, with its large, broad feet, is perfectly adapted to snowy country. Yet it is the one that retreats, leaving the bobcat to relish its moment of victory. A scary showdown comes on the rare occasion when this small bear cub is alone and is confronted by an aggressive cougar. It's a good thing this little cub did not wander into a male bear's territory, because in the grizzly's solitary world, this is serious business. For territorial reasons, large males may sometimes kill small cubs. Adult grizzlies seldom come together, but when two large males meet and compete for one female, the result is nothing less than spectacular. These battles are so ferocious they can end in death. The female, which is much smaller than the males, watches from a safe distance as the winner assumes a dominant posture over the loser. Outside of these mating battles and a brief courtship period between male and female, the only other time that the solitary adult bears come together is during the annual salmon run. Bears are natural swimmers and divers, as powerful in the water as they are on land. By midday, most of the bears in the area have gathered for what seems like a pleasant picnic. But things are not always so peaceful. A big boar is looking for a fishing spot in the afternoon sun. The big male is patient, or maybe he's just puzzled by all this frantic activity, but he doesn't stay puzzled for long. Almost always, the biggest bear claims the best fishing holes. But frequently, the question is, who is the biggest bear? One fight sets off another. Although most fights are between males, when a female bear gets upset, fur can fly. Here in Olympic Park, the autumn colors portend more than just a change of season. It's time for elk to gather once again to propagate their kind. Restless bulls become more aggressive as each gathers up a harem of cows. When they congregate in groups for the fall rut, the sights and sounds are unforgettable. Haunting, high-pitched bugling reflects the bull's emotional intensity. Displays of dominance underscore his desire to keep his harem of cows intact. Females are shadowed by the younger bulls, but normally mate only with the dominant male. The crisp fall air matches the tension that surges through the herd. When a challenger appears on a nearby ridge, the stage is set for battle. Bull elk expend an enormous amount of energy during the rut, taking little or no time to eat or rest. The dominant bull further depletes his strength by mating with every cow in his harem, making him particularly vulnerable. His chances of surviving a harsh winter are slim. But when the young ones are born in spring, a part of him lives on. This is nature's way with all living things. The vitality of each species is ensured by the timeless drama of spectacular showdowns. I'm Marty Stauffer. Until next time, enjoy our wild America. We humans have always been fascinated by animal predators and prey. Sometimes we receive the impression that the stalker always gets the stalked. But animals are too complex to fit such a tidy mold. By using its special skills, each creature does what it must to survive one day at a time. I'm Marty Stauffer. For the next hour, watch and listen with me as all kinds of animals manage their great escapes. The lofty summits of America's Rocky Mountains, where trees and shrubs surrender to solid granite. Few animals thrive here in this land of low temperatures and high winds. An exception is the mountain goat. It lives year-round above tree line on cliffs too precipitous for any but the most daring of predators. A rash young mountain lion stalks the stiletto-horned goat. Within a matter of moments, the inexperienced cat realizes the folly of its attack. Built for balancing, not running, the sure-footed Billy stands his ground. His dagger-like horns at the ready, he braces his muscular torso on short, sturdy legs. Stomping his feet as if to say, "Get off my mountain," the Billy counterattacks. Mountain goats are occasionally killed by predators, especially as juveniles. Kids are sometimes knocked off cliffs by golden eagles, but avalanches and rock slides cause more fatalities than predation, a point the Billy drives home to the young cat. The cougar is an elusive cat, rarely seen by humans. Often its prey does not see it either, until it's too late. Sensing danger, the mule deer buck knows to bound uphill, out of the way of ambush. But hesitation can be fatal. This is nature's way of rewarding the strong and wary. The cougar is after a meal, not a trophy, and will take what's easiest to get. Cougars seldom hunt in pairs. Here, a mother lets her male offspring prove what he's learned before she sends him off to hunt on his own. Deep snow and bitter cold are difficult for most animals. But the cougar's cousin, the lynx, is superbly evolved for winter. The lynx, although smaller, has successfully defended its territory. The marten is a beautiful cat-sized member of the weasel family. The marten must hunt almost constantly and catch prey frequently because it carries no insulating layer of body fat. The marten is the most arboreal member of the weasel family. It can climb with all 4 feet and dart headfirst up or down a tree. So can the red squirrel. Both species have legs which can rotate 180 degrees and clawed feet which allow them to dangle precariously, then plunge headfirst down the trunk of a tree. Some animals have developed slightly strange defenses to make their escapes. One of the most, shall we say, powerful is the skunks.
Here, skunky, skunky.
With this in mind, I prepare myself from head to toe.
Here, skunky, skunky.
Late each afternoon, a striped skunk treks across my yard. Today I plan to get a close-up look at its remarkable defense. To document the event, my camera will be used both as a witness and as a shield. When the tail flares, 2 tiny nipples emerge from each musk sac just inside the anus. Packed in muscle, these sacs can fire a blinding teaspoon-sized squirt as far as 15 feet. A 6-shooter, the skunk gets a half-dozen shots before it needs to reload. Of course, 1 shot usually does the trick.
Oh no, this thing leaks.
Nature's odds seem stacked in favor of the predator. It often has a choice of prey, whereas the only choice its prey has, if it's lucky, is self-defense. Like other animals, the opossum's first option is to try to hide. But given the coyote's sense of smell, this tactic is of little use, especially since the opossum can't run fast enough to hide very far away. Just as the second coyote senses that a meal is at hand, her mate appears to have lost his appetite. Most predators need the stimulation of resistance to incite them to kill, and the act of killing to induce them to eat. An inert body inspires little interest. But the possum is still breathing, and in fact, it's only playing dead, playing possum, biding time until the threat of danger is past. It's not just putting on an act. It's been in something like a state of shock. Now that the coast is clear, it revives. Lizards, including this snake-like glass lizard, have a unique method of escape, certain to surprise the predatory bobcat. The glass lizard has a tongue like a snake, but snakes are virtually deaf, while most lizards hear quite well. In motion, there's little difference between a snake and a legless lizard, at least to the bobcat. This would seem to be an easy snack for the bobcat, but nature is always ready to surprise us when we least expect it. Just as the cat is about to take its first bite, its meal suddenly appears to be in two places at once. The tail end thrashes off down the stream bank, while the front half holds very still. Like any self-respecting cat, the bobcat goes for what's moving. As it stalks off with its prize, little does it realize that this contest has two winners. Unlike snakes, most lizards can shed their tails at will, allowing them to break off at a certain weak point, and later regenerating an entire new one. Birds have also developed some special techniques to make their escapes, like the covying behavior of the bobwhite quail. In the evening, the group crowds together in a tight circle. Like the spokes of a wheel, their heads radiate outward. Each bird in the roosting ring lifts its wings slightly to form an unbroken circle. This allows for the transfer of body heat. With all eyes facing outward, the bobwhite covey has a 360-degree view of approaching danger. Some animals hunt by night, others by day. Some are active anytime. Successful escape always means being wary, no matter what the hour. To the east of the Rocky Mountains, the scaled quail is scratching out an existence on the plains of southeastern Colorado. The semi-arid range of the scaled quail can be as dry and inhospitable as any quail habitat in the country. But it seems to suit the swift and wily blue racers, as they're sometimes called. Blue because of the bluish-gray cast of their back and wings, and racers because these fleet-footed quail are more likely to run from danger than any of their quail cousins. The swift fox, smallest American member of the canine family, is probably out hunting for kangaroo rats when he happens to spot the covey. Even the cat-like agility of the swift fox is no match for the cottontops, elusive members of our elegant family of American quail. And then there's the spiny porcupine. The porcupine is not intentionally destructive. It's simply trying to locate a source of sodium, in this case, salt from human sweat. The tree bark, leaves, and plants a porcupine ingests contain massive amounts of potassium. In order to rid its body of excess potassium, its kidneys also flush out essential sodium. Sodium cravings are the most intense in pregnant or nursing females and can result in particularly risky behavior. This female porcupine is challenging the most dangerous predator in her environment, a human being. Although the owl is usually nocturnal, it sometimes searches by day. But this owl is hunting dangerously near a red-tailed hawk's nest. When the hawk has a family to feed and the sun is shining, it will not tolerate the presence of the owl in their shared territory. By night, the owl would have the advantage. Now the hawk, a much faster flyer, climbs high into the air, then drops to deliver the message. Speed is one of the hawk's primary weapons. It may reach 100 miles an hour in a dive. Powerfully, repeatedly, the point is driven home. The owl is surely ready to leave by now, but if it tries to fly, it's slower than the hawk and will surely be hit in midair. Finally, a chance to escape. The hawk is the clear winner, and the owl will probably not hunt here in daylight again. This sort of territorial confrontation often takes place in the wild. For instance, the red fox can be a worthy adversary for the hawk when it comes to catching a cottontail. No matter what the time of year or what part of the country, rabbits are among the most pursued of all prey, which accounts for their short lifespan, averaging only 4 months. Even in the swamps of the southeast, the rabbit is the prey of choice. Hunters spend more time and money trying to bag rabbits than all other types of game combined, and the swamper poses some special challenges for even experienced hunters. The hefty 6-pound swamp rabbit will take to the water like an otter to throw these beagles off the track. There's another creature in these parts, one that strikes fear into people's hearts. Some say its best defense is its bad attitude. I can hear them in the distance, and with their keen hearing, they can probably hear me too. It's not long before I find them. The boars cut open pine trees and regularly rub on them. This rubbing builds up a shield of thick cartilage and a layer of pine resin on their shoulders. These resin-coated shields are protection from the slashing tusks of other boars. With his sharp tusks and shielded shoulders, a boar is always ready for attack or defense. Peak of their mating activity, this group is more aggressive than usual. Unless cornered, they normally avoid humans, and I don't mind avoiding them. They make it very clear that they don't like my intrusion on their privacy. Luckily for me, they have better things to do. Even little pigs can be fierce. They fight long and hard for their nursing position. Soon a suckling order is established. In this mini hierarchy, each little animal wins by having its own specific nipple. It's always funny to me that such a cute little baby can grow up to be such a, well, a not so cute adult. The growing piglets may be food for bears, bobcats, even alligators. In nature, the roles of chaser and chasee can be reversed from one day to the next. For now, this is one lucky little piggy. The armadillo is a strange little animal, protected by its very own coat of armor. Take another look at how the rattler's infamous fangs glance off the armadillo's shell. This nearsighted, clumsy creature seems like the Mr. Magoo of the mammal world to me, shuffling along, oblivious to any danger that may be lurking nearby. Movement catches the eye of the predatory alligator. Incredibly, the young armadillo outmaneuvers its pursuers. Over 300 million years ago, much of the Earth was covered with water, but vast oceans and swampy areas were drying up. Out of necessity, some fish underwent an amazing transformation. Over the course of thousands of years, they began breathing with lungs. These air-breathing animals are called amphibians. The most familiar are frogs. The word amphibian is Greek. Translated, it means living both in water and on land. One of the most omnivorous of the amphibians is the bullfrog. It will eat almost anything. There are frogs almost everywhere. In the Adirondacks of upstate New York, the leopard frog shares habitat with river otters. Young otters searching for food will make a meal of frogs, if they can catch them. The frog's evasive zigzags lead to the temporary safety of the river. The otters get distracted from the frog when they spot a painted turtle. The young otters frolic with the turtle, having a ball. It's too bad the turtle doesn't know it's all in fun. The otters finally lose interest. From this watery world to our northern forests, some species are real scrappers as they struggle to survive the pursuit of much larger species. The tiny weasel gets through the winter by being a persistent hunter and a ferocious fighter. The coyote picks up the weasel's scent. This little weasel weighs only 5 ounces, 100 times less than its attacker. But those 5 ounces stretch into 15 inches of incredibly flexible muscle. Seizing a split-second opportunity for escape, the ermine leaves the coyote a little wiser. There are many creatures that refuse to be a meal without a fight. A case in point, the bobcat and the prairie grouse. You'd think this ringtail would be no match for a hungry coyote. It seems impossible that any creature could survive such treatment. The coyote will try to find easier prey. It's springtime, and the fawns are being born and nurtured among the pronghorn. It's a good time to hunt. The coyote passes a young fawn without noticing. The fawn's defense? It gives off no scent at this age. The coyote continues hunting. It has picked up the scent of an older fawn. The doe does not appear to be a threat, but then this coyote may have never met a mother pronghorn before. Trying to keep between the hungry predator and her baby, the doe is tense, nervous. She attempts to distract the coyote, but it closes in. mother charges. Stunned by her attack, the coyote releases the fawn. Freed, it races to safety. Soon, mother and fawn are reunited, but they won't stay together long. Just like our own babies, animal young grow up fast and soon take their place in the natural order as predator and prey. With escapes and captures, nature's balance is preserved. The captures keep animals from overpopulating their habitats, and the escapes allow some offspring to mature and reproduce again. But that's another story. Until then, I'm Marty Stauffer. Enjoy our wild America.